In this episode of Radeon HD 4850 Gaming.
I think it's time for Jack to let her rip.
A refreshing distraction from modern garden variety shooters. This is Chivalry Medieval Warfare, a multiplayer only hack and slash game based in medieval times. No guns or explosives, just blood, steel, and manly battle cries. Chivalry is definitely a new take on the first-person multiplayer genre and accommodates many different playstyles, with 4 unique classes with their own instruments of maiming and death, such as the Archer, who has next to no armor and has difficulties going toe-to-toe with other classes, but in the right hands can prove to be a lethal adversary for long-range engagements. The Man-at-Arms is a fast-moving scrapper that can dance around heavier opponents. They can make your helmet a permanent fixture to your head before you even knew they were there. There is also the Vanguard. I admire that name. Sounds familiar somehow. Anyways, as I was saying, the Vanguard is a medium armored titan that can hold his own in almost any situation. He also has a special charge ability. Anything caught on the receiving end of that attack is going to have a profoundly bad day. And finally, the Knight, the juggernaut of chivalry. These folks can take a bruising before you pound the nail into this big boy's coffin. They can also lay down some seriously intense damage with their heavy weapons, perfect for defense. They lend themselves perfectly to a support role. Chivalry is great for what it is and offers up various game modes like Team Deathmatch and other objective-based attack and defense game modes. That's not saying that it doesn't suffer from some drawbacks. The hit detection can be a bit spotty at times, especially if your ping exceeds 80 milliseconds. There is also a bit of a learning curve that newcomers may find a bit overwhelming at times. I recommend taking your time to do the tutorial instead of charging head-on into the breach like a lamb to the slaughter. In all, Chivalry shines and succeeds as a first-person hack and slash that feels uniquely different from everything else. I happily give it my recommendation. Be sure to check this one out, guys.
Kindergarten. And if anything were to happen to me, he'd be super pissed. I gotta get a weapon. Yeah!
Interesting fact. Did you guys know that I enjoy rock and heavy metal? Which begs the question, Why did this game sit in my Steam collection for over a month before I gave it a shot? I'm glad now that I did. This is Brutal Legend. The opening sequence caught me off guard as you're greeted by a live-action Jack Black who guides you through a record store in search of a mysterious record of untold power. This all happens before you're even presented with a start menu. After seeing this, I knew that I was in for something special, and Double Fine didn't disappoint with this underrated metal-infused hack-and-slash title. In Brutal Legend, you play as Eddie, who is voiced by Jack Black, a roadie for the worst metal band on Earth. An accident occurs during a concert where Eddie must save one of the band members, but gets squashed like a grape by a stage set piece in the process. Eddie wakes to find himself in what I can only describe as a world inspired by Iron Maiden album covers, and quickly gets wrapped up in a war with the locals. The soundtrack in Brutal Legend really shines if you're a fan of classic rock and metal like myself. Within the first hour of playing, I was already hearing tracks from Motorhead and Def Leppard. The soundtrack definitely lends itself perfectly to the level design and art direction. The core gameplay mechanics are great as well, but I personally found them to get quickly repetitive. The addition of having headbanging minions at your disposal to do your bidding was a nice touch, but didn't do much in the way of livening up the dull combat system. There are tons of unlocks and exploration opportunities, which offer up tons of replayability. If you have an obsessive need for completion, then you will likely spill many hours into this game. The art and animation style are simply remarkable as well, being very reminiscent of films like Coraline or other stop-motion pictures. The often hilarious and crude dialogue blends great with the visual style. Not to mention, you're actually given an option early on to censor curse words with a bleep noise. In my opinion, this only strengthens the hilarious dialogue between characters. If you occasionally bang your head to rock, enjoy bloody hack-and-slash beat-em-ups, or enjoy adult-oriented cartoons, then give this game a two-horn salute when you can.
Bingo! I mean, jackpot! You'll never French kiss again.
What's French kissing?
It's,
The, gate's open.
What? Oh, the gate. Ah! What's that? I couldn't hear you. It's like you got a lisp or something.
Over here, you foul and rotten worm.
Come and fight so that I may wet my blade on your
Guys over there say they're organizing a union.
We'll go sound the alarm!
Okay, dudes, don't worry. I have a plan. Hey, did I say charge?
You guys are good! Man, I have wanted to do that forever.
That's for killing Charlie, you
Whoa. Hey, okay. See how much you dudes kick when you band together like that? That's awesome! Now with just a little bit of practice, I bet I can turn you dudes into a well-oiled machine of death. You into it?
Yeah.
Okay, first, when I do this, it means you gotta follow me, okay? Okay, let's...
What? They have a Metal Gear? Here? Right. Take out that USG and get after it.
This ain't your daddy's Metal Gear. This is Metal Gear Rising, set 4 years after the Guns of the Patriots incident from Metal Gear Solid 4. You play as Radeon, a mercenary cyborg working for a company called Maverick, on his latest job providing security for the Prime Minister of an unnamed African country. You become embroiled in a terror plot and seek revenge, or rather, revengeance? After the Prime Minister's assassination, First, let's talk about the graphics. The visuals are oftentimes stunning, especially during pre-rendered cutscenes. There are moments that will leave you speechless for sure. The gameplay is extremely fast-paced and demands quick reflexes to say the least. The tutorial, if you can call it that, does little to assist you in understanding fundamental mechanics necessary for your survival. During the first hour of gameplay, I was struggling pretty badly until I finally got a handle on the block and parry system. I feel that there should be a button dedicated to blocking, but instead you're forced to awkwardly press in the direction of the enemy's attack while carefully timing a light or heavy attack to block or deflect an incoming blow. If that sounds needlessly complicated, well, that's because it is. Once you get the hang of defense and offense, you'll find the gameplay very satisfying, albeit challenging and very fast-paced. Having the ability to make precision cuts is something truly amazing. The angle that your blade hits an opponent or an object is mimicked by the damage inflicted, which also leads to some interesting collectibles, in which you can collect certain body parts of enemy soldiers to upgrade Radeon. Rising does very little in the way of Metal Gear Solid fan service, except you can don Gray Fox's exoskeleton and wield his ungodly overpowered blade. Other than that, there is little to no mention of past Metal Gear installments, so newcomers to Rising can rest easy since this is a story all of its own. Speaking of the story, I just have to say that even for Metal Gear standards, Rising is far overblown and wanders into just plain silly territory at times. That's not saying that Metal Gear Solid stories weren't a bit outlandish, but by comparison, Rising makes Metal Gear Solid look like a Shakespearean masterpiece. And that is saying a lot. Finally, the sound design of Rising achieves what it sets out to do. It amps you up for every battle, and it gets your blood pumping. The boss battles in this game are extremely cinematic, and blended with the perfect music track to match the tempo every time. The boss battles are definitely some of the most memorable I've seen in a game ever, and their music tracks are forever etched in my mind and my iPod's playlist. With a treasure trove of unlocks, upgrades, fast and at times brutal combat, I can't recommend Metal Gear Rising: Revengance enough.